Jace the Mind Sculptor, walk through the door. My life's better than ever before. It's not just that I'm winning a ton. It's not just that Blue's back #1. It's not just that I'm having more fun. When I was having more fun than legally done. Jace changed my life in all the best ways. 5,000 friends and a massive pay raise. Jace the Mind Sculptor, better than all. Jace the Mind Sculptor, better than all. Jace the Mind Sculptor, better than all. Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Hey, Patrick.
Hello, Michael J.
Patrick, I read something on Facebook earlier this week written by Grand Prix champion Dan Ward that Jace the Mind Sculptor being unbanned in Modern was just going to make Boggles better.
No, it's going to do other things, and it's pronounced Boggles.
Okay.
No, I have no idea, man. I'm hardly the authority. But no, it's not going to just do that. It's going to do other things, too. But yes, it will definitely make Boggles better. So Jace the Mind Sculptor is legal in Modern. The world is as it should be, at least for now.
Until like many senses.
Like most great formats, this format is really good while nobody's played it. So kind of like to both look into the recent GP results and also sort of speculate more about what the implications of Jace the Mind Sculptor might have on Magic as a whole. But yeah, what do you think about the GP, man?
I actually would just love to start with the winning deck list, Dan Ward's Boggles deck. I've been we've talked about this a lot. Dan has put up such great deck lists over the last couple of years. He made that weird reanimator deck with Kari Zev's expertise last year, and he was the originator of the Approach the Second Sun deck in Standard, and here he is with possibly a less interesting deck to watch than Lantern to win the next tournament.
He's got some tech. What do you think of a 3-main deck Leyline of Sanctities?
That is respect. That's what that is. Are there very many edict effects that people play in
Liliana of the Veil?
Oh, Liliana of the Veil, you say. So the thing about his deck strategy is
Lantern.
He's got all these guys like Slippery Boggle or Glade Cover Scout that have hexproof, right? So if he turns off the ability of someone to edict him, then his guys they're just going to be basically immune to spot removal also.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not as worried about Boggles. I just think that it's really easy for the format to adapt.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, you're right. He does have quite a bit of tech here. I was thinking, if Boggles is good, right? If Boggles comes in, here's a deck. It's basically like I'm going to play a guy on turn 1, hope it doesn't die. And then I'm just going to cover it with Ethereal Armors and Griff's Boons and Hyena Umbras and Spider. However many things I could just stick on this thing and attack you a bunch of times. If Boggles is good, isn't Infect just better? Like, doesn't Infect just get super good?
No. They're very different. Their matchups are very different. Like, for instance, a lot of the random blue control decks are very good against Infect and very bad against Boggles. And it's polarizing, right? Like the difference between all my guys have hexproof versus all my guys have double damage is very, very different. And I think that all my the Infect deck is so often more about, I've got more threats and I've got cantrips and some permission, or this deck is just all pump spells, right? Like it's all permanent too. It's not just one shot. And then the difference in hexproof instead of double damage is just monstrous.
Oh yeah, I mean if you just look at the matchup you have, against Burn, and Burn is relevant to talk about because Dan beat it in the finals in this Grand Prix. Like Burn can just pick off all the creatures in Infect. Like a card like Grim Lavamancer could be potentially devastating for Infect, but like none of those Searing cards, for example, do anything against Boggles. You can't even target any of their creatures.
Oh, yeah, you can. Core Spirit Dancer and Dryad Arbor.
All right. That's
at least something. I mean, Core Spirit Dancer is a legit.
Yeah, that's true.
There is a window, because you can respond to the first aura they try to play on it.
and then they don't cascade off on you. What I did like about this deck, we were talking about commands last week. He's got Dromica's command. That's the one that I like.
More than Culligan's command. More than Cryptic command.
I'll just point out that he also has Seal of Primordium, which was probably pretty key in removing the ensnaring bridge that would have beaten him.
I do like Seal of Primordium. I like Seal of Primordium.
Is that better than... I guess it's better because you can prevent a Lantern player from, like, thought seizing your, whatever, Nature's Claim or something, like if you're holding it.
Oh, yeah. They play so many of those things, too. Yeah, I think Seal of Primordium is just good. It's also can be effective against stuff like Blood Moon. Remember
before,
right? And just to be able to get it, even if it's after, it being an answer that you could threaten to use in play. It's a. There's times where you don't actually need to destroy the Blood Moon right now. And it sucks to use your only one destroying Blood Moon if they're just going to play another Blood Moon, like when you untap. Like, let's say your only 2 mana is Forest and Plains. That might be kind of corner case, though. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the only thing I wonder about here is Gaddock T. What do you think of Big Daddy Gaddy?
It's been a while since I've summoned him. Like, I don't know, he's a bane for a certain band of decks, right? Like, it's just irrelevant against some, but he can mess you up if your deck is predicated on those kind of casting costs.
What is it? What deck is he? Like, what is the 4 he's trying to stop?
I mean, like, are there X's that he wants to stop? Are there... I don't know. Like in other formats, he stops things like Force of Will, right? Like free spells.
Is it stopping Damnation and Cryptic Command?
I don't think this deck's super scared of Cryptic Command. Like I don't know. Maybe what if it stops like the card draw spell in Storm? Right? Is that something he might want to do?
Empty the Warrens, Past in Flames, Gifts Ungiven.
Yeah, I think it's more in those. What's the one that deals damage to you equal to whatever cards you're picking up?
Ad nauseum.
Yeah, stops ad nauseum. Because I think the thing about Boggles is it's such like a one-dimensional deck, and it just attacks, but one of those combo decks can kill it before it can finish you off. It's not the kind of deck that can disrupt any of these combo decks very well, right? Like it only has 2 paths to exile even. So if you're playing against Storm, you're pretty inconsistent in your ability to interact with their medallion guys.
All right, what about John Stern's finalist, runner-up burn deck with Vexing Devil?
Vexing Devil. 1 Vexing Devil instead of 1.
The Miser's Vexing Devil.
I don't know. I if it were me, it would have been the 2nd Grim Lavamancer. Because otherwise, I'm very behind this main deck. I don't know. Vexing Devil is... I don't know. It seems like a really inconsistent card to me, especially if you're only playing 1 copy. On the other hand, you always know what to side out.
No, I don't know. I think you got to believe in Vexing Devil if you're going to play it.
I mean, if you're going to play...
Don't get scared now.
I mean, then play 4, right? It's a very efficient
diminishing
way to do a bunch of things. No, it's not diminishing returns. They get better and better. People can't pay for them. What, are you going to take 16 damage from Vexing Devils? I'll start playing it if people are going to sign up for taking damage from the Vexing Devils.
All right, man. What about the Gristle deck? The burn deck is just the same one we've talked about a million times, but with 1 Vexing Devil.
I think it's worth talking about some of the choices, right? He's got 1 Stomping Ground, like to support 3 sideboard Destructive Revelry. I'm not into that. He didn't even play 4. He didn't even play Ancient Grudge. Just go red-white. I'm just not into this configuration. Do you see what I'm saying? Like 3 Destructive Revelry, really?
All right, so Grizzlehorde finishing 4th in the hands of Jonathan Zhang.
All right.
What do you think about the use of Borgaborgamus?
That's how you win, right? That's how the deck goes.
I know, but I'm just saying that it doesn't have to be that way. Instead of playing Grizzle Horde, this could be like a Grixis build, going a little different of a direction. Like, it doesn't have to be I question the Horde part of the Grizzle Horde too. Don't get me wrong, I like Goryeo's Vengeance as much as the next guy. Goryeo's Vengeance with Grizzlebrand. I just wonder, is Borgamos and World Spineworm really better than Emrakul the Aeon's Torn?
Well, let's walk through this for a second, right? So, Grishol, Shoal, Brand, or whatever is not so common of a deck strategy. One of the things that I thought that I'd point out on this one is that Jonathan's playing a bunch of cards in kind of odd spots that we'd mentioned in previous casts. He's got 4 copies of Night's Whisper, which is not unusual for this archetype, but, we have talked about, hey, is Night's Whisper good in Modern recently? And he's got 1 Miser's copy of Manamorphose in his main deck, which is...
1 down, 3 to go.
So the way this deck works is... You have Cathartic Reunion, you've got Lightning Axe, I guess you've got Collective Brutality, of course you've got Faithless Looting, so you want to discard some kind of, expensive guy into the graveyard, like probably a Grizzlebrand, right? And then you are kind of a Turbo Reanimator deck with Goryeo's Vengeance, right? So you can cast this on turn 2 and get back the Grizzlebrand, right? So what Goryeo's Vengeance does is it says return target legendary creature card from your graveyard to play. That creature gains haste. Remove it from the game at the end of the turn. So you have a window when this is in play. And you can use Grizzlebrand to draw a bunch of cards, right? Because he draws 7 at a time. And you have this whack combo between Nourishing Shoal, which is a GGX spell from Kamigawa block, lets you remove a green card with converted mana X from your hand, and then you gain X life. So if you've got a combo of Nourishing Shoal and World Spineworm, for example, you can gain 11 life, right? And then that allows you to keep drawing cards with your Grizzlebrand to get more and more stuff going on with your deck. Among other things, potentially get Borgamos enraged in play. That guy, Borgamos, and he's all kinds of things.
Borgamos. You gotta say it different every single time. Can't let him catch you accidentally pronouncing it correctly.
All right.
But yeah, you just draw 11 more cards, and you do it a couple times, and if all goes well, you draw your whole deck and kill them. In my experience, 2/3 of the time, you end up with a Borgamos in play, and you just do 6 to your opponent.
But then does it die, right?
Yeah. I mean, you attack for 7, so they're kind of low.
But,
I don't know.
But you don't even have a blocker at the end of this, right? So this deck is super, super, super high volatility. You can just kill somebody on turn 2, or even turn 1 with Simian Spirit Guide. That's a pretty corner situation. But it's fairly inconsistent, I think.
Dude, if you were playing Grixis, Goryeo's Vengeance, you could put the other combo pieces back with Jace. Yeah?
Oh, I don't think. No, this deck has, next to no land. It's a Simian Spirit Guide all in on turn 2 kind of deck, isn't it? Do you really want to play
Simian Spirit Guide on turn 2 means Jace the Mind Sculptor on turn 2 if you have a second Simian Spirit Guide. That's you're there.
Yeah.
Dude, with Manamorphose, you can Simian Spirit Guide down Jace on turn 1.
You can. It'll be a little bit of work. But actually, how many cards are you giving up? At least 3 cards to get Jace into play on turn 1? But is that... I think even Jace might have a problem giving up that many cards on turn 1 to take over the game. There's only one way to find out, though. We got to try it.
And actually, speaking of unbanned cards, we alluded to on our Tuesday special Jace the Mind Sculptor Bloodbraid Elf episode, Bloodbraid Elf existing in addition to Jace.
Nobody cares about that, though.
What do you think of Bertrand Joseph Pare playing? So his elf deck is the kind of mono-green elf deck for the most part, with just a tiny splash of white, one Self of Spirit, 1 Vizier of Remedies, and then a little bit of white in the sideboard. This deck, to me, I can't help but wonder if Bloodbraid Elf might be an appropriate fit.
So the way this deck works, right? He's got one Vizier of Remedies that he can go get with Court of Calling, right? Like that's the sequence here, and then it's Vizier of Remedies combo with Devoted Druid lets him produce a lot of mana, right? Because Vizier of Remedies makes it so that if one or more -1/-1 counters will be put on a creature you control, don't. And the Devoted Druid can untap like a lot of times to generate a ton of mana for the next Court of Calling, which will get Azuri Renegade Leader. Then you can just overrun with any, however many creatures can attack and just attack for infinite, right?
Yeah, but I'm saying the primary plan is just the backup plan. That is the primary plan. So you just play Azuri and then you just overrun.
Yeah. So you just
Bloodbraid Elf would be great.
Because he can flip Azuri, among other things. But he's also just going to be flipping Elvish Mystic half the time. There's like a lot of pretty weak cards for Blood.
And then he attacks!
I mean, nobody's scared of a 3/2 haste in Modern.
He's not going to be 3/2. He gets the bonuses from all the tribal synergies.
I'm not a buyer on this one. Nah, not a buyer. I'd love to be wrong, but I don't think. So you think that he's just going to take one of the spots that Company's using right now? This deck doesn't have a lot of...
No! Use Collected Company also. I don't know that this deck needs Court of Calling, man.
Well, I mean,
give up the combo. Just be all beat down.
I could see that. So you take out, I guess, Vizier of Remedies, Selfless Spirit, and Reclamation Sage... Because
I could imagine, dude, I don't know that you don't want to play Ren's Run Vanquisher.
Oh, well, now... Yeah, but, like, if you're going to go that direction, like, do you need some removal or something? Like, you need...
I don't know. You can play Lightning Bolt if you want.
This is just too different of a deck now. Like, the whole point of this deck is that it can play with a massive amount of material or it can play unfair. If you're just going to have him play Ren's Run Vanquisher and Bloodbraid Elf, like... I think that they're just outclassed on the battlefield. Like, everybody's got Goyfs and... I don't know, like... Snapcaster Mage is a good, foil to this situation.
I don't know. Bloodbraid Elf is one of the few cards that can actually legit just run face first into a Snapcaster and,
like never
do all right. Right. So actually, speaking of Goyfs and just cards that are going to outclass an Elf deck, what do you think of this top 8 Death Shadow deck? It's like the one from from the PT with Stubborn Denial, Teamer Battle Rage. It's a 4-color, but I can't help but wonder, can we get Bloodbraid Elf in here? It's not great with Stubborn Denial. I'll grant you that, but like, if you could just play Bloodbraid Elf, it's not that great with Death Shadow either sometimes. But like, it's not that great with Mishra's Bauble.
I mean, you could
traverse.
You could play a deck of. Why would you even play blue if you were going that direction, right? The original kind of like this whole school of Death Shadow, when Raptor and Jerry and those guys were doing it, was Jund colors, right? Sam, not even Grixis colors. Why not just... I think that the natural home is just much more of a mid-range deck than a Death Shadow deck. Like, let them flip over Liliana the Last Hope. Let them flip over Kitchen Finks. Like, I think that's the natural order, right? Finks, Liliana, other Liliana. Consistent removal cards.
That sounds pretty good.
Like, that deck would be great, I think.
Alternative pitch, Bloodbraid Elf, Trigger, Reveal, Springleaf Drum, or Ornithopter. What about my second Mox Opal?
No, thank you.
But, dude, if you play Affinity, you can power the Bloodbraid Elf down early.
You can.
So Benjamin Reagan.
Second turn Bloodbraid Elf, all the rage. And you would have rage at your Bloodbraid Elf because he would just be like flipping over a Vault Scourge or something.
So Benjamin Reagan was piloting an Affinity deck with 4 Galvanic Blasts and Blood Moon in the sideboard. So we're already well on our way. And with a Shaper Sanctuary, it's already the right colors for Bloodbraid Elf. I don't know that Bloodbraid Elf flipping Ornithopter or Signal Pest or Memnite's that good either. But you gotta admit, Master of Ethereum might be a pretty good get.
Could be. Yeah, I have to say, Patrick, I don't think Bloodbraid Elf would be very good in Affinity. I
think Bloodbraid Elf's going to make Affinity's life a living hell.
Yeah, I mean, Bloodbraid Elf flipping over, I don't know, Ancient Grudge might be what happens more often in a matchup that involves Bloodbraid Elf in Affinity than Bloodbraid Elf flipping over, say, Welding Jar.
All right, what about Bloodbraid Elf in one of these Eldritch Evolution style of decks? Obviously, you can't Eldritch Evolution to go get the Bloodbraid Elf and get the trigger, but it could be sweet to sacrifice the Bloodbraid Elf to go get a 6, and alternatively, if you just reveal an Eldritch Evolution and you already have a 3 in play, I don't know, it's probably stretching a little too far.
Yeah, I think that the problem is those decks have to line up in a certain way, and Bloodbraid Elf, for all of Bloodbraid Elf's great qualities, he's pretty erratic, right? Like you unless you build your deck in a certain way that he's gonna always flip over, like Blightning or Esper Charm, right? There was that whole school of standard decks that your Cascades were always ending in card advantageous 3s. Versus ones that could be flipping over a Path to Exile, and there might not be a creature on the other side of the table, right? He's not always good all the time.
Yeah. Maybe.
There's no evidence to the contrary.
So, were there any other decks from this one that you were interested in particular?
Yeah, just a couple shout-outs. So Jerry finished in the finals of the Pro Tour last week, but Jerry's tag team partner on the Game podcast...
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago now, sorry. Brian G., alternately known as BR Yang, finished 19th with Black-Green Tron.
Sweet.
Just wanted to call something out. He's got a little more black, I think, than some of the Black-Green Tron decks. He's got a full Fatal Push next to a Dismember in the main deck. But I just wanted to direct your eye to a little something that Brian had in the sideboard, Azor's Gateway.
Okay. Yeah, it's about time.
It's about time. So what do you think about the Gateway in this strategy?
It's you've got ways to spend a boatload of mana without having to make your deck bizarre, so that's really good. And then you've got a wide range of costs, so it's actually easy for you to flip. And then you're also a deck that's playing with just an incredible number of mana sources, so you're prone to getting flooding out. So it's actually really nice to be able to use it as a looter. So I'm a fan. I think it's really smart. It's really clever.
I think it's really cool also. So one of the things that Brian wanted to use it for was actually defense against surgical extraction. Right, so because you're removing the cards from the game instead of putting them in the graveyard, and it seems like a weird thing to say, but that's actually one of the dimensions the card has. So, you could create this engine, it's potentially a high advantage engine, but that you're not exposing one of the cards that you might. Let's say I just want to use this to create a big engine to play an Ulamog, but I discarded an Ulamog, and Ulamog got countered or something earlier in the game, then I might not have it in my deck anymore based on that. But
it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's very, very corner seaming, but this card, as a one-off in this deck is actually kind of cornerish itself. I think that green-based Tron strategies are among the best potential strategies if you think that Lantern is going to continue to be a popular deck. They have almost no defense against a World Breaker, right? Like, it's just pretty much it. It's somewhere in your deck, right?
Yeah. Dude, the more I look at this deck, I'm a fan, man. This is... there's some really smart stuff going on. 2 Relic of Progenitus main I also really like. And I like the 2 Walking Ballista, especially with the Azor's Gateway when that comes in. I'm a fan. I like the 4 Karn, 2 Ugin, 2 Ulamog split. I mean, it's not the craziest 2 Worm Coil. But I do like the World Breaker. I think this is I like this list. I like 3 forests instead of 2. A lot of people, when they play black-green, only want to play like 1 or 2 forests. I think that with the increase of Field of Ruin, I think it's really smart to play the 3rd forest to keep going.
Is it insane to play a swamp somewhere?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Because the Field of Ruin people you don't want swamp against.
Yeah, I guess like Fatal Push is just like such a soft black card, and you've got all these stars and spheres, and the Dismember isn't even really a black card.
Yeah, you can't. That's not the way to do it. Yeah, you don't want that. But like, I'm impressed. I like this build. I mean, I'm not like some person who just walks around liking Tron decks. But like, as far as Tron decks go, I think this is, definitely shout out to Gottlieb. Good dude.
One of the things I appreciate about this deck is, one of the knocks against Tron is that it has a soft burn matchup, but he's got like a pretty solid set of things to bring in. He's got like 3 Collective Brutalities and 2 Thrag Tusks. I think he can just, even Thought Knot Seer, if especially if you can get that out fast, you can put up a good fight.
Sure. What did you think of Daniel Gutashell's blue-red Pyromancer deck? Finished 21st. So it's Thing in the Ice, Young Pyromancer, and Snapcaster Mage, but a little bit of spice. He's got 1 Torrential Gearhulk in there, and then he's also got an Entrancing Melody in the main deck.
Yep. I mean, those are the main switches from the Viren deck that we saw in the finals, or top 4, I guess, of the Pro Tour.
Right. But main deck Entrancing Melody.
I mean, that's a statement maker, right? I mean, if you think you're playing against Goyfs, actually, it's great if you think people are going to play other Pyromancers. It's a fine card to trigger a Pyromancer and steal their Pyromancer, right?
Yeah.
There's so many high-impact cards that are only 2 casting cost. One of the things that I like about this deck are 3 copies of Blood Moon in the main deck, and then no weird split of anti-land cards in the sideboard. Instead, he's got another Entrancing Melody. I love Anger of the Gods in this archetype. I think it's really, really a solid choice.
Love the Thing in the Ice, Anger of the Gods interaction.
It's awesome. I think the Gearhulk is actually awesome because I think when you start playing like the Thing in the Ice, Young Pyromancer, just opting and that kind of stuff at the beginning couple turns of the game, people just have an idea about what deck you are. And Torrential Gearhulk, even as a one-off, is so high impact, right? This deck has 4 Cryptic Commands. So high impact, like, it is just to knock them on their ear and just completely take over the game. It's like exactly what you want out of a Control 6, right? Like, as good as it is in Standard, it's so much better in a format where it's flipping back Electrolyze or Cryptic Command.
Alternate pitch. Cut the Gearhulk for one of the Jace the Mind Sculptors that we want to add.
Oh, I mean, the whole thing is going to change, right, with Jace the Mind Sculptor. Who even knows? Like, I think Electrolyze is a lower impact card, right? And you don't need cards like Entrancing Melody as much if you have the ability to bounce a creature of any size. Right,
right, but we've got to have to clear up a few slots if we want to get some Jace the Mind Sculptors in here.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would go like Melody, Electrolyze, you're probably right, Gearhulk. I don't know, Third Blood Moon? Third Blood Moon's actually good with Jace, right? Redundant.
Yeah, no, I like I like Third Blood Moon.
No, yeah. After saying it out loud, I like Third Blood Moon too. Yeah, I think Earhulk he's the most expensive, but he's so good.
Unlike Jace the Mind Sculptor.
What if we didn't play 4? Is that crazy?
To not play 4 Jace the Mind Sculptors?
Yeah.
No, that's not crazy at all.
Yeah, then I'd go Melody, Electrolyze then.
Maybe. It's kind of slowing you. That's a lot of 4s and up. So what do you think of this Dredge deck as not all the different hollow ones, but like the actual Dredge deck, like Sam Lowe's Bloodghast, Golgari Thug, Insolent Neonate, Narcomoeba, Prized Amalgam, Stinkweed Imp, like the old school Conflagrate Life from the Loam style. Old school as in like 24th generation Dredge. This as a home for Bloodbraid Elf. Just Bloodbraid Elf? Surprise, it's Narcomoeba.
Awful idea. No, thank you. This deck is so focused. Like, the last thing you want to do is, just pay 4 mana to flip some, unplayable Insolent Neonate.
Dude, surprise! Conflagrate for 0.
Yeah,
but
Conflagrate is just the pits. It is
Dark Blast. I guess Dark Blast my own Thug.
It is on the bottom of my shoe. This idea, not good. But I do think that Dredge is a good deck. I think Dredge is, Dredge is underrepresented.
Yeah, go on.
I think it becomes an increasingly good choice whenever people are sleeping on it. This deck's really powerful. The problem with it is just if people have focused cards against it, it's pretty easily hated out. But there are so many relics and so many Rest in Peace and stuff like that. But if people are aiming Stony Silences at Lantern right now, for sake of argument, right, or their creature elimination is built around answering cards like Mardu, Young Pyromancer, instead of going after the graveyard specifically, I think it just gains some value. The other thing that I really like about this strategy so much is that it's such a great natural home to Ancient Grudge. It is just a perfect natural home. If you think that people are going to try to beat you with Ensnaring Bridge, what better way is there than just to accumulate a lethal amount of material and then pop them out of the graveyard?
Jace and plus it.
Yeah, but of the strategies that were available last weekend, what might have been a better way to go? If you thought that was going to be what you'd have to beat.
What do you think of his sideboard Driven to Despair? Get a little bit of turning your random little thugs and bloodghasts and neonates and archamoebas, getting a bit of value from them.
Yeah, I don't know. I've very little opinion about that one. I mean, you can set it up from the graveyard good. That's I don't know. I think it's a one of, and maybe one ofs are of magnified value in this strategy if you can play them from the graveyard.
Dude, maybe there's a way to play Dredge with Jace the Mind Sculptor. Follow me. No, seriously. If you put your Stinkweed Imp or whatever, you could just put stuff back, and you have a built-in reset the top of your deck mechanism from your dredging.
Well, I mean, you could just activate Jace the Mind Sculptor and then dredge 3 times. That's a really powerful ability, right?
Yeah. Just mill 18 cards or whatever.
You could easily. That's I think that's right in the center of the.
And they could be into bounce. They could be into the bounce.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Dredge is one of these decks that's just a bunch of bad cards that go together well. And Jace is.
I know he's off theme.
He's a great card that does. I'm really flexible. I can win the game. I can defend you. I can draw cards. What do you need me to do? What I really need you to do is to just jump into the graveyard and then just mill some garbage that's also not good. I guess I could do that too. I'm Jace. I mean, he could do that, right? I don't know. Do you really need Jace that much if you're playing 3 Life from the Loams and 4 Faithless Loot? It approximates a lot of that action. Your question does not compute. All right. Do I need a lot of Jaces? Yes. No matter what the second half of the sentence is. Yeah, I don't even know what that means. I don't even know what it would mean
to not. Like, that's like, do you need to breathe? Well, no, I guess I don't need to. I could die, alternatively. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe Dredge isn't the perfect home for Jace. I don't know, man.
No, neither Jace nor Bloodbraid Elf we've established. I just can't. I can't imagine wanting to flip a Conflagrate.
Dude, what about, like, 4-color Teamer Energy, like it was in Standard, but, like, powered up, juiced up a little bit for Modern, but with Jace the Mind Sculptor?
I think that you're just taking the shine off of Jace the Mind Sculptor. Teamer Energy is a great Standard deck, but, like, nobody is scared of those cards in Modern. There's just a better version of every one of those cards that people play that isn't slave to this, particular resource that doesn't fit the format.
You don't think Aetherworks Marvel is an interesting card? It even combos with Jace. You could just put the Emrakul back.
Oh, yeah, that's good. I like that a lot.
I thought that was, like, the primary reason to play Energy.
I thought you were saying, like, Long Tusk Cubs.
No, you're always thinking Long Tusk Cubs. I'm always thinking Aetherworks Marvel until it's banned.
All right. If that's your direction, I think I'm in. That seems like really... I mean, I would be pretty down for flipping whatever with Aetherworks Marvel.
Yeah, I mean, you can, like... So what I'm thinking is that, like, if you're playing a Nahiri deck or a Goryeo's Vengeance deck, you might just have some sick bombs in your deck without even making your deck weird any more than it already is, right? Like, if you're playing a Goryeo's Vengeance deck and you just have 4 Emrakul the Aeon's Torns and 4 Grizzlebrands, then you're already ready. You've got the hits, right? Or alternatively, if you're playing a Nahiri deck, maybe you don't have as many hits, but it's not even necessarily the worst to flip a Nahiri or a Jace, and you can put one of these Emrakuls back and then be, like, in business.
I mean, what if we go a different direction?
Or Through the Breach. You can play Through the Breach, too.
Can you just play, like, Nahiri and Jace in a kind of a Jeskai control Planeswalkers build and have, like, one Emrakul somewhere in your deck, then just use them to control the board with Cryptic Commands and Lightning Helixes and stuff, and then just play, like, a long game that way, then just eventually get them with your awesome one Emrakul?
That sounds really good.
That actually sounds like a very plausible deck strategy to me.
Yeah, me too. I think that sounds real good.
Yeah, I like that one. Note to self: buy those Jaces.
Also, I don't even think it's this. I mean, it's not like it's the worst in the world when you have to, like, Nahiri Ultimate up a Snapcaster Mage.
Probably not the worst.
It could be even better if you can get. It might even just be worth it playing one Torrential Gearhulk, one Emrakul, and then, like, a couple Snapcaster Mages.
I could see that. I mean, like, Nahiriing a Torrential Gearhulk is actually pretty good a lot of the time, right? The only thing I'm worried about is, what are you going to have, like, 9 4s?
I don't know, man.
4 Jace and Nahiri and 4 Cryptics? Does that sound right?
That's 12.
No, 1
right?
Nahiri.
No, we're going to play more than 1 Nahiri.
All right.
12, are you kidding? That's
12 4s is too much for me.
I'm saying, why are we playing Cryptic?
Oh. Tell me more.
Yeah, like what if we just played with Nahiri and Jace the Mind Sculptor? And then, like, what if, like, because I keep coming back to wanting to have Thoughtseize to pave the way for Jace. I really think you're going to want to take a look at their hand.
I can see that. So, what is this, 4-color control? No green? Would you play green? Because I'd actually explore in this deck. I'd be super willing to some kind of 2 casting cost ramp spell.
Dude, you know what card I want to bring back? Persecute.
Yeah?
Dude, Persecute?
I love Persecute.
I know, Persecute, man. Like, you're playing as one of these elf decks, and you just persecute them for green.
It's different if people don't have standstills and or you don't have dark rituals, though, right? Like, all the time, breaking a standstill with a Persecute was one of the best feelings.
Dude, I want to play it with Simeon Spirit Guide.
Really?
Yeah, one of these, like, Simeon Spirit Guide combo decks with Goryeo's Vengeance, whatever. And I'm just going to be like, turn 1, triple Simeon Spirit, or maybe even Storm. Just be like Manamorphose, persecute you.
What color will you name?
It depends on what land they played on the first turn. But
I don't know.
Well, if it's you, I'm going to name red.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I might be a Jace guy from now on. I don't know, Patrick. All these ideas are Jace. I mean, you could name red because I'm also a Bloodbraid Elf guy, but I think I might be a Jace guy from now on. I think I might have to trade in my Eidolon.
Yeah. The first time we see Jace the Mind Sculptor in Tron, that's when you will know. See, it's not even like I think it's actually going to be like really good in Eldrazi aggro, right? Like I think you can just play like an Eldrazi aggro deck that just has Jace the Mind Sculptor in it. That's fine, no worries, no problem. The first time somebody just has Tron and Jace the Mind Sculptor, and they're just activating their expedition map, getting their shuffle on, that is when you will know that it's gone too far.
I was actually thinking about the interplay between Eldrazi aggro and Jace the Mind Sculptor earlier today, right? Like, Jace the Mind Sculptor is interesting because it can answer Reality Smasher without having to discard a card, but it doesn't do that much because Reality Smasher can come down and attack Jace again, right? I don't know. How's this going to work? Like, Smasher gets so much better because of that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much it changes the equation because it's not like against these aggro decks that if you just tap out with a Jace, your like big plan is that it'll live. Maybe don't play a Jace and bounce the 5 power haste creature. Like, what kind of a plan is that?
I mean, sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, like activate the 0.
Oh.
This is Jace the Mind Sculptor. Go look for a solution to your problem. You're even up a card so that when you path or whatever you got to do, you're not like down. All right, dude. Jace the Mind Sculptor. Maybe it's like just busted in Eldrazi. But what do you think about Bloodbraid Elf with Elder Deep spawn? The Elder Deep Fiend.
Oh, to set him up?
Like, you got these 3s anyway.
Yeah.
Bloodbraid Elf you can sack, and that's 4 on your way to the Deep Fiend. They're all like these grimy beatdown stuff. Like you're just like Bloodbraid Elf, I'll flip and reveal Matter Reshaper.
It's just like, you could just be like, I'm just going to use this as a kind of space holder, like a Teamer aggro type deck, right? You're just top ending on the Elder Deep Fiend. Yeah,
but all I really want to do, outside of Jace the Mind Sculptor, but all I really want to do besides that, dude, if you just Bloodbraid Elf and you're like playing some kind of a Jund, like, is there any better get than just like Liliana of the Veil?
I mean, I think that there's a whole way you can go where you're just flipping over Mantis Rider with Bloodbraid Elf, right? Like, what if you're like a super haste theme, like awesome aggro creatures all with haste? I maybe even play, Reality Smasher yourself, like just put constant pressure on them and you've got built-in card advantage, tons of evasion, stuff like that. I think that might be awesome. I mean, obviously, Bloodbraid Elf into Liliana is going to be one of the most common implementations of Bloodbraid Elf right out the gate, right? That's going to be first place, Reed Duke, green-black top 8 player. Reed Duke is going to go when he thinks about his Bloodbraid Elf. But, there is a long tradition of Bloodbraid Elf just putting out great monsters for beating down opponents also.
The Berserker tribe, not as well supported as the Elf tribe. Bloodbraid Elf's other lesser-known type. Dude, this isn't Bloodbraid Elf or Jace the Mind Sculptor. However, there's a couple cards. There's a couple cards in Rivals of Ixalan that I wonder, like, do you think there's any chance that there could be enough pirate love, enough pirate action for pirates as even like a sub-theme of a strategy in Modern?
Well, I mean, Kitesail Freebooter already sees pretty good play.
Right, so that's one. What about...
Taker sees some play. Takes a little...
Sure, yep. What about Warkite Marauder?
I like that card a lot also.
Same. Dude, Warkite Marauder with Liliana, the Last Hope?
I'm just thinking, like, why would we go this direction when there are better offensive creature-based strategies, right? Like more damage, more built-in synergies than Pirates has right now. Even Merfolk is more pushed at the present time.
Dude, how about Warkite Marauder with Is It Staticaster? They're both humans.
I mean, I love it.
You like lock them out?
Yeah.
Lock them out?
Love it.
Dude, I think Warkite Marauder is underrated. I think there's a lot of really cool stuff you could do with Warkite Marauder. It's obviously it's tougher in Modern, particularly since it doesn't have haste. But I actually think that one's got. I think we're going to see more. I think Warkite Marauder is actually going to show up.
I could imagine that. Look, he has a lot of things going for him, right? He's got an okay power to casting cost ratio. He's got good evasion, and he's got other stuff on top of that. She. I apologize.
Yeah, no, I think it's dope.
Do you think Humans is a big winner from the unbans?
No.
No?
No. No, I think Bloodbraid Elf and Jace the Mind Sculptor are going to mess some human decks up.
Yeah, they're going to draw into lots of things that are bigger than humans or lightning bolts for the humans.
Yeah, I mean, like, I just think they're going to... It's not so much that Bloodbraid Elf and Jace the Mind Sculptor themselves are like... You know, it's not like there's some spoiler for the strategy. It's just that the company that Bloodbraid Elf and Jace the Mind Sculptor keep... It's just like, if you're just playing a deck that has, like, if you're just playing 4 lightning bolts, 4 fatal pushes, some terminates, some dreadbores, sideboard damnation, and anger of the gods, and Jace the Mind Sculptor pulls the whole room together, you are going to mess a human deck up.
Yeah.
Or if you're, like, Jace is going to, it makes it so much more tenable to play with more situational interaction and just rely on Jace to win the game for you.
Yeah, that's actually like the big problem with Jace, right? Like, if you're in just parity...
That's the big problem?
Yeah, if you're at parity, Jace keeps the opponent from ever drawing anything to beat you, and then you just kill them because its loyalty went up.
But it also just... It can solve almost every problem, and it provides so unbelievably amount of extra raw power that you can just play with more reactive cards and then just work it out with enough brainstorming.
Yeah, because it's the best card drawing card.
You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to
condition.
You don't have to worry about things like killing opponents, winning the game, time constraints, running out of victory conditions. You don't have to worry about investing anything ever. You can just play Snapcaster Mages and Jaces and maybe some, like, Colonnades or Tar Pits or whatever you're into. Lumbering Falls, for all I know. Just sit around and don't make any, you know, like, why? Like, you know what you need to do is risk not brainstorming for half a dozen turns so that you can just, like, run them out of cards.
Well, if you're at parity, it doesn't matter, right? You're basically playing a very similar game to Lantern while building a kill.
Yeah, Jace the Mind Sculptor has literally 12 jobs, figuratively speaking, and one of them is by itself being the entire Lantern deck.
It also kills at a higher level of consistency than the Lantern deck if it goes off. Right? The Lantern deck can be beat, right? It's just, if Jace is in play, no bueno.
Yeah. Dude, you got to be careful, though. If somebody has Leyline of Sanctity, Jace is not. It's not just the Fate Seal ability. You can do the Fate Seal yourself, but you can't ultimate your opponent if they have Leyline of Sanctity in play.
I mean, you still brainstorm all day.
Yeah, I know. That's all you're going to do anyway. Everybody just protect. You're not losing when you Jace Ultimate because it's implied that you could live without half a dozen extra brainstorms.
All right. Well, Jace and Bloodbraid Elf are not going to be legal yet for this weekend. If you had to pick a modern deck of the available modern that's right now, which one would you go with?
One of those really sweet, like a burn deck, splashing white for like Boros Charm and stuff like that.
Yeah? Me too.
No, not even close. I would definitely not do that.
Why not?
I would play.
John Stern
I would put,
came in second in the Grand Prix that way.
John Stern is a master. I'm saying that I wouldn't do that. I would play either Blue-Red Madcap or Grixis and Mize.
I think Grixis with Corey saw Grixis with the Colgan's command seems really attractive to me, and I think the format is not really well set up for Blue-Red Madcap. I think you could totally, put a lot of people away and have a lot of the play that you get from the, scratch the control itch at the same time.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, it's been a big week. Big week. One more weekend. All we have to do is trek through one more weekend, and then finally this years-long prison sentence will come to an end, and Jace will finally be free at last.
I will. I'll be so happy for you. Your life will be better than ever before. Again.
Dude, the clock is ticking.
All of a sudden, Modern is Patrick's favorite format. All right. So thanks for listening. Come find us everywhere. We're Top Level Podcast on iTunes. Go to iTunes and just, tell everyone you should listen to Top Level Podcast. Check us out on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, our own website, and, of course, Patreon. Shout out again to Carl Varga. Thanks a lot, Carl.
Major props.
All right. I'll be seeing you and Jace soon.
Oh, gosh darn right you will.
All right. Can't wait.
Complete me.